is Boadu TV. Truth and integrity.
Yema mu nyina akwa ba Pambra Boadu TV so. Na mo ye mo first time no. Man subscribe ye nyina ye wia na ya like video no na pi ye gya comment. Ewo comment section mo na ya share. Na nukrenie Wontumi asemba ye. Kwaku Annan shedan kasa fa ho ye afi na finally wode na no atum. Na NPP fo a omo eko EOCO office ebra echi Wontumi no dano ekoye dede kodi atem koburu nsenkyerefo no wate esiom so maami bi video bi na trend pa sa maame ne de se na mafo isi mini no ne onu so ne esi abre na wo di atem na wo ye maami ena Kwaku Annan bisa se tamana Wontumi TV so yi gold bars to ho TV so dwane num no satam no no na dwane num ana ni sika na wo nya gold na wo nya no ono na di ana ai ne de ne ho ache na wo su Africa na fo na mombro na Ghana fo mombro. Don't forget say Kennedy akompre ko Japan na manfo bi kika na Kennedy ono kra obehwa na ne dese achi Wontumi Kennedy ko ho ai okoho ono nsenchofo kasaye ni nyina wa ha we no sinchen Chief Justice ya wo na sinchen wono so kwase committee nenim amane nsema o kruche de ko ya bwato akene matena medun nsema wa kyero ewrade edama Kwaku Annan de je twiato
hwe ade ya maami ono I saw na spotlight no turn so a oye dede wo honum ne ade plus demonstrators so ana yenka se supporters e ko honum ne ade me de minka se supporter wo support NDC and NPP menko by muni made bi hwe ebra ye chi Wontumi no yembisa se Wontumi ma wo mo ye dodo sen Wontumi sebe ne yerenom ye sen what I do know is Wontumi yerenom wo mo ye sen mienu yes ah enra ne yerenom mienu no wo mu de hin na mu hu wo so mu lead demonstration and so mu lead the charging crowd no yerenom no wo mo hinifa sabre wo mo Ghana ha wo mo Kumasi ana wo Accra ehemfa no mu ne yerenom no dodo sen na ba grounds honum asema de bia en ewie kura na me ne Mrs. Ozuye di sa nkomo na asema me kan se onhwe enya sometimes Ghana for na your fault enya your fault no but winim this is how your politicians want you to be. Okay, the politicians of this our nation always and at all times would want to see say the citizenry are impoverished. The citizenry will not be wise. The citizenry will not wake up to what time is it. No. Our politicians all the time. Yeah. Because yeah. That's why it's so easy at all times. Adebiara ensese Ghana for kobo chenku hono womo mom ho so hey NPP mumiatingu monteso na nya sa eje Wontumi ebro no tete radio station TV station all the den all brandish gold bars no me ade no no see yes a demonstration of power one day ohono wa mo NPP din o all demonstrating the power of what gold. Na what chiro said you what to me and he said you what sika obo udin ka ho wa mo udin anka ho ebra Wontumi demonstrate say Ghana han na sika fo no wono wodi mu akwete na sefo no obo udin ka ho wa mo udin ono ani party NPP kro wa mo mudin yeah ba wum say ebra asem to no a ya hwehwe no a so tito wie mu okwaye mu esire mipo menuam ensuo mu a ye hwehwe na ye hu no de wokunya baby gina say Ghana for mumre o Ghana ana wante MC do I have the tape there ebra all demonstrate say yeah or the NDC for ebeba number 5 or say a demonstration of power in about a few minute days after elections Wontumi no wo team Ghana for NPP for mumno muntina yeyem seyo unsa feed now. He's calling for what? Your sympathy. But the question you should be asking, me the Ghana for me come and crachere mu. So what trust na ubi sa won say, hey, politician tibia wo komi. Ebra na wo enjoy na me gina he. Ehimfa na eya common knowledge say nyame na me ka kire wo. But na we na me ka kire me sisters e ekuya yi. Sa na obehunu o say politicians na create adwuma. Ama Ghana for so munya obeti akwagira street so we demonstrate eno na chiro how impoverished eno na chiro how destitute eno na chiro emobo my Ghana ye because say ya chief politician were London, ya chief politician were Europe, Amsterdam, ya chief politician were Germany, Italy, and ya chief politician be America memu ana global south China ya de ne ko ne nipa wo man nya sorry say ye ko demonstration wo na betinye sima na ye dabi bin sida wo mu adwuma yo na onya na adwuma yo medi wo politician echi ebra wo di sika na mudi sika no edi bi di ma to talk cars e dan nem ne ade no wato bi ama onto bi ma nti wo ko gina ho den said and rami hu ya no mgu EOCO headquarters we yes ye wo nipa okwa ho hiehie mu a utumi ko eco solidarize with. Of course, why not? Ye nipa ye hu wadamfo den utumi ko solidarize ukoma ne support. But nye ebra politics no mu ye no ya ma opose bia ma osika ni bi ma weni o. Wo se ma sori ejame ma ho, obi ejane ma ho, obi ejane kunu, obi ejane yiro na wo ko ye ne de ade bo utiri mu pra wa. And also na be a talking point e Ghana. When the bay and NPP, NDC mu be jai sa anyama we. Enti mi bisa se ukoye dede o hwa ne se me no me ka we dey protect wo Ghanaian no se we NDC ni se we NPP ni me emfa me ho because me catch me non align o. But my point is that so be jai politicians mo ma drama a jai mo no drama unu bi ne ye chi no a na wo kwakọ support na fair deal. But your politicians no me pese me cho so wo mo nwe hu peace a o and wa solidarize it as of enra na dwuno na chesi ehu bebia Wontumi wafa. Later information surfaced that Wontumi has been hospitalized. So his lawyers of course pursued him to the hospital to check on him. The lawyers ne ko hoso mo kohwe ne say hospital na odano saying ena ne hono esido do no fa no say na neoma ekọ. Into African politicians intentionally create poverty in order to control the masses. Kwamna, I tend to agree with you. So, Jumo Mudiani o. Maka semia ka say Ghana na esi won wo. Me say NPP nkwa betim do 4 years e develop Ghana na NDC my vice versa the NDC. But they won't do it. They won't do that. One more a system whereby all of us will become subservient beggars for. We must always beg for something as if then that we are not entitled. No. And as soon as we vote them into power, then they become little gods over our heads. Now, say no more jais and you may be here. Nacha Kaneno, woman am chromo brandishing here and there. Do you know me? Do you know who I am? And that's how Makasa Finsan. But in a few hours ago, Honorable Kennedy Ohene Japan also tried to figure out the location of Wontumi. No so kwa no ohun bibia Wontumi wana Kennedy Japan so tisimu so kwa no say no so kwa no ohun niam. Take a listen to him.
One about waba you kwa no pe waba e wa sanso aba uba ye ni nkomo o se de e say we dey now obi e kwa o say oda ho hospital into ye nya kwan e wu no no pe ba no say time na the emra between 3 and 4 and more trip pe you do I ba so oda ho hospital ebeko na me friend no pe o ka so hospital no say ho de e ma chance e ma yen hwe no e wo ba bi o da no wa na nya ntie se o mo de na ba and you decide is here but we ba no o mo ntumi an kire se o ha na so no say time this thing hours na you should come between 3 and 4 and no na e be do ya you may do your one. Yes, I catch you say, you know, oh, okay. Honorable, actually, one more actually Wontumi, lawyer and Yakubi. Actually, Wontumi, and you know, any NPP at the top will be a camera, say, a buying buyer. What I would do as one was within our command. Yo, minimum the America. He said, minimum India, India, NDC, at that hour. Minimum, I be America, my disappointed here. MPP for Yankasa. And then I read 2 videos. Alex Tete and the former chairman. You know, say assemble sana party and you one. Na your personal problems are your work. A day better bonting a divided party. I am why. Because send this be winning a unity. Your parliament. And maybe honorable to force and court. NDC for no board red. Now my boycott to parliament. Homo court to New and San Womaba. I don't know what has become of us. So we MPP ni power be a obi pentino obi ehuba sema near jubility. MY Sema corner anas see a money 18 million next to Swampire and Okra. Now MPP for mum money thumbs up. Meanwhile, I defended MPP. What you say? And they won't tell me something share party for Alex Tete. Me go funu ankasa. Because odi mechi obi afi say nya oye no meka ho. Enye enyo ma bia ebe boa party. Muma ekuru yembra party solidarity. Enyina so aye boni so. Can you believe say obi bisam say Adentina me anti-corruption crusader. Na honorable Amiya Kunfi, me deme die a command bail and say we are guilty. What do you say? Until so very guilty, no, we are entitled to bail or be coffee in your castle. And the Mesram, they were Yania NPP for no internal politics, no, ye take party, no, and when you are better opposition. See, and changes as one way. Na yama kuriyama yensua senia na NDC for ye ade na chese ato forcing odi bem ana odi fo but so odi bim o so odi fo they rally behind him. What you say? The mesre me anu party.
Great folks. So Honorable Kennedy Ohine Japan also echo no we hu baby Wontumi, but of course we are learning tonight say Wontumi has been granted bail of 50 million, yes, sort of 50 million surety. Pending say, yes, there's more things that Wontumi would be facing as far as the charges are concerned. Folks, and you may be bringing a year follow up tonight, Nina Ebebro. Togbe Amega, I say, his workers and girls should go and demonstrate. Godwin adore fully. I say, my brother, thank you so much for your education. May God bless you. And loads of messages. Togbe Amega, I say, if this not doing so, galamsey or road demonstration, I am sleeping. Okay. And Kwabena Ampofo, also African politicians intentionally creates poverty in order to control the masses. Yes. We so say Kwadamfo also say wo bowa chama Wontumi wo bowa no condition is permanent Wontumi and okeka ninsem say yemra Venice Mamemra also say hallelujah, praise God. And Patrona Empire Ben Yebuya, Lekusuana, Lekususu DNB, whichever way. Mame Watma, how are you? What is saying? Also now best sending message, Mame who message, you know. Instead of me try message, you know, me friend say WhatsApp line so send a message na ye nim common. Why? Good one. Folks, maybe a short break. Me ba after we go into them battle suspended Chief Justice. As someone is at two Chief Justice and then I know what in here. But me say come here, Jamaica say, Mami Chief Justice, suspended Chief Justice. As some way say obey trustwa, Mami get through. Because the more former Chief Justice ne battle in the way no, the more and Nyoma AP no.
Case having been dismissed by the court, she's just boarded the vehicle and together with her husband.
folks, so the Supreme Court hona mami free bay zone na committee no edio mudwuma na mane ade na chese in fact I've been very sad the whole day this morning. They say imre mera ho ama mami pa but you see yenhwe bibi ye wo wiase kakra na nipa momyemfa ye ho tutu ye ho fo hwe ebra mami no wo Chief Justice wom niema bebre koso a mami Gertrude talk on anko yi hwe Africa for ye subini e ban bi asesi an ye twa na ese hwe you do me and I'll do you. Minim se mami no de e kono ne ni nye kura o woni ni kunu wo ma se ankonam bi no but Yempo, my minister was serving in the capacity as what? The third person in command when it comes to this nation's democratic process. But sana musimo pesa moye mo maino. Emmanuel Tewia, I say God bless you watching from live from Techiman. Ima minimse ohwe pa Irajwa I was good evening, Kwaku. Yes. Bibi Akama. Well, my executive producer Yamba just joined me. We are about to go into this episode, 6-page document, epistles of Martin, Alamisi, Ben Kaiser, Amidu, and a Troy. Nansembena or the Ebetuja. Yao joins me shortly. Meaning Yababe go through. Then we'll give you a very crystal analysis of Martin epistles. Now what you're going to Yao. What is saying? We power to the people. Exactly, folks. No. Until each Ghanaian Biano will have the power now. And no money at yes, you know, 6-page. I'm going to read 3-page. Yamba sube kind 3-page, and I'm sure say be wasuneti asama pape ediabeto or title, and it's going to be on the screen. Maybe will make analysis of the whole thing. I say the respondents in a removal petition cannot waive the right to in camera proceedings and also annulled the process by Martin ABK Amidu. And that screen is on it. Tiasma Martin Debao. Also, it is interesting to hear and read a former Attorney General Godfred Yeboah Dame, also known as Telephone Man. Minim se Godfred. Yeah, unim se Godfred ni dini Telephone Man. Minim
Martin Amidu.
Yes, I get to. Hey, minim say Godfred Dean back on a Telephone Man. Anyway, he enti saying disingenuously and with tongue in check that he opposes calls for proceedings relating to the removal of his clients. Chief Justice Mrs. Gertrude Tokono to be held in camera on grounds of transparency due to the intense public scrutiny she has already endured as though proceedings for the removal of justices of the Superior Court under Article 146 of the 1992 Constitution can be held otherwise than in camera under the 1992 Constitution. In fact, Martin in this episode cited a number of constitutional articles, of course, that make quite sense to, the argument. He goes on to say, the reader ought to be reminded before proceedings further with this discourse that Article 146, Clause 8 of the 1992 Constitution on the removal of justice of the Superior Court and chairman of regional tribunals, including the Chief Justice, unequivocally mandates that, quote, all proceedings under this article shall be held in camera, and the justice or chairman against whom the petition is made is entitled to be heard in his defense by herself or by a lawyer or other experts of his choice, unquote. Godfred Yeboah Dame, aka Telephone Man, cannot, as a former Attorney General, be oblivious of the fact that the Supreme Court considered and decided on the meaning of scope of Article 146 Clause 8 of the Constitution in 3 previous cases, the last being the case of Derry versus Tiger IPI and others, in which the court stated as follows, quote, what is the true intent and purpose of these provisions? Is it limited in its terms? What is the extent of the limitation, if any? The true intent is not in dispute. It is to protect the integrity of the judiciary, the personnel reputation of the judge under investigation, and it is also aims at protecting potential witnesses from some form of recrimination. The reasons for confidentiality could be endless, but integrity of the administration of justice is at the center, unquote. Martin Twas will say, the Supreme Court concluded after considering the two previously decided cases as follows. Quote, the rights of the people were merely postponed for a time lest the purpose of Article 146 Clause 8 should be defeated. We would emphasize that these clear constitutional provisions must be respected by the intent and purpose, are not to be rendered nugatory, which is to keep the proceedings private and confidential, unquote. It is unethical and dishonorable, therefore, to reframe the clear constitutional mandate on the hearing of proceedings for the removal of Superior Court Justice to give the impression to unsuspecting public that someone or a group of persons are calling for the hearing of the petitions to remove the Chief Justice by the committee appointed by the President to inquire into the complaints in camera for political purpose, while hearing can permissibly be open to the public. The provisions of Article 146 Clause 8 are so clear and are unambiguous that the committee appointed under Clause 6 and 7 to inquire into the petitions and recommended to the President whether the Chief Justice ought to be removed from office would be violating its mandate to hold a public hearing in respect of any of the petitions pending before it. Consequently, the call for Godfrey Dame, also known as Telephone Man, can only rationally be attributed to the continuing attempt to politicize or otherwise simply constitutional process. Otwas was set in motion to determine whether or not the complaints contained in the petition seeking the removal of the Chief Justice from office can be vindicated or are unmeritorious. City News reported the grounds on which Godfrey Dame argues for the constitutional provisions to be subverted by a public hearing as follows. Quote, it cannot be a secret. There ought to be a light on the proceedings because she has already been damaged in the public domain, unquote. Dame stated, underscoring the importance of fairness and openness in the process. In one fell swoop, Godfrey Dame, Telephone Man, is prepared to subvert the Constitution of Ghana to score political points and is wiser than the framers of the 3rd and 4th Republican Constitution. See Article 128 Clause 1 of the 1979 Constitution and Article 146 Clause 8 of the 1992 Constitution, already quoted supra in paragraph 2, respectively. The provisions of the 3rd Republican Constitution 1979, which was adopted verbatim by the 4th Republican Constitution 1992, departed from the provisions under Article 116 Clause 4 and 5 of the of the 2nd Republican Constitution 1969, where the mode of hearing was not strictly circumscribed and therefore open to debate. Otwas was the framers of the 3 Republican Constitutions of Ghana had also made provisions for the removal of the President from office, which show that the framers of the Constitution purposefully used the words, quote, the tribunal shall inquire in camera whether there is a prima facie case for the removal of the President, unquote, and, quote, the proceedings in Parliament for the removal of the President shall not be held in camera except Parliament otherwise Otherwise, orders in the interests of national security, unquote. See Article 69, Clause 4 and 12 of the 4th Republican Constitution, 1992, for the words quoted, and Article 56, Clause 4 and 12 of the 3rd Republican Constitution, 1979, and Article 47, Clause 3, and 6B of the 2nd Republican Constitution for the words in pari materia as those of the 1992 Constitution. The injunction that proceedings under Article 146 of the 1992 Constitution must be held in camera was therefore purposefully and not an omission to be filed by judicial activism. I have been following and tracking closely the initiation of the process to remove the Chief Justice from office. I was definitely worried and displeased to have read a press release issued by the Minister for Government Communication on 25th March 2025 stating inter alia that, quote, President Mahama consults with the Council of State on 3 petitions to the Council of State to commence the consultative process by Article 146 of the 1992 Constitution. Quote and unquote. I agree entirely with the repository by Mr. Sam Okudjato on Thursday, 27 March 2025, when he stated on Joy FM's top story, quote, let me emphasize that this should not have been publicized when I was on the council. We felt it was wrong for a petition of this nature to be made public when submitted to the President and forwarded to the Council of State. It is only when the Council and the President concluded that a prima facie case has been made that publicity should follow. I think this is a wrong approach, unquote. Fortunately, the content of the petitions were not disclosed by the press statement of the Minister for Government Communications. But on the same day, Thursday, 27 March 2025, the New Patriotic Party's Member of Parliament for Old Tafo, Vincent Eko Asifwa, through his lawyers, Dame and partners, filed an action in the Supreme Court at 9:20 a.m. and according to the reportage of Joy FM, that the MP made this known on his social media platforms, sharing a copy of the writs filed at the Supreme Court. On Thursday, March 27, 2025, his suit follows the President's announcement made through the Minister of State in charge of Government Communications, Felix Kwakye Ofosu, and 3 petitions demanding the removal of Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo would be referred to the Council of State for consultation, quote and unquote. Folks, 3-page in a makan yaw will take over no so read 3-page ni wi ana ya ma o ye summary na afie de nyome eko yenim yeah, me continue from here, right? Okay, so me twas was say Godfred Dame is the immediate past Attorney General under whose watch Mrs. Gertrude Torkornoo afi Martin Rizi serious issue ha ti ha. Or say Godfred Dame is the immediate past Attorney General under whose watch Mrs. Gertrude Torkornoo was proposed by the NPP government to the Judicial Council nominated by President Akufo-Addo, approved by Parliament and appointed as the Chief Justice by the President. When I read the writ filed on behalf of Vincent Asifwa by Dame and partners, I felt that a simple petition for the removal of the Chief Justice had taken a political turn by the involvement of Godfred Dame, Yeboah Dame, the immediate past Attorney General. In the affray, the rate was immediately followed with an application for an interlocutory injunction to stop the processes brought about by the petition for the removal of the Chief Justice. Godfred Dame has every right theoretically to represent who he wishes after ending his tenure as Attorney General on 6 January 2025. But every previous Attorney General worth the name knows that public perceptions and opinions are particularly key factors to consider immediately upon leaving office into private life. When in 2001, the late Professor Kofi Annan came to see me in the company of the late Victor Salome to ask me to represent him in his pending criminal trial, I politely refused to do so for purely strategic, tactical reasons of my representation as a lawyer in his criminal case, not having an influence on the public perception of his case as involving the NDC government. I had met Victor Salome at the VVIP Lodge as his lawyer on the instruction of President Rawlings when he arrived from the United Kingdom on a British Airways flight and was arrested by the Bureau of National Investigations, BNI. Victor Smith initiated the call to me to speak to former President Rawlings. That was when I earned the name Shadow Vice President. For those who remember the incident, I appreciated he wanted me to continue to represent him in court. I did not think doing so as the immediate past Deputy Attorney General and running mate to the NDC presidential candidate for the 2000 elections would serve his best interests and the government. We both served, but Godfrey Dame was not directly representing the Chief Justice, but Vincent Asefua, the NPP Member of Parliament for Old Tafo, and the public may well understand that this was not a conclusive suit, with the Chief Justice lacking on scene in the background. On the same day, 27 March 2025, the Chief Justice, Mrs. Tokonu, was also reported on Joy FM as requesting a fair opportunity to respond to the allegations against her before further steps are taken, stating inter alia, quote, I am by this letter humbly and respectfully asking His Excellency the President and eminent members of Council of State to forward the petitions against me to me and allow me at least 7 days after receipt of same to provide my response to you, which response can then form part of the material that you conduct and consultations anticipated under Article 146 Clause 6 before possible setting up of a committee of inquiry under Article 147. Folks, this is quite pretty fascinating development. Yeah, what do you make of Martin Yakin Kanwe shortly before you go on yours?
Well, he's raised a lot of issues pertaining to regarding the Chief Justice.
Yeah,
and he is of the view that the former Attorney General, Godfrey Dame, should have declined the opportunity to represent the Chief Justice. And he's also of the view that those who are calling for the petition to be held in public.
I don't say I debatable,
Yes. So he's coming from the pure background of a lawyer. Somebody that has understanding or appreciates the law. And you know, Martin Amidi is somebody that when
Martin, me papa.
Yeah, he's somebody, you all know him, that he's a very principled man.
Yeah.
When he has an opinion on something, he's not shy or he's not scared to talk about it. So he believes that whoever is pursuing that kind of argument is doing so, or he's going against the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. But for him, he believes that the Constitution states categorically that such petitions must be held in camera, not in public. So he believes that the Attorney General should know better. And the former Attorney General.
Great. I think I tend to agree with you in all that. In some Martin Ekanina, baby, odi every back a cram they can yaw, they know what you're saying. Or say, Oshe baby a maami efri ba opeso ye na adwen se asem no yemfa enye de emra bedwam no matenami di su no yenye nesa matenami di course cite several articles no many are the constitutional articles including the 1979 laws ni mra ewo mining bebre was citing na as ni case study say the battle chief justice ne press yemfa mra bedwam a yenye nesa afi wasense raise another serious is it the just gone past attorney general here Godfred Yeboah Dami as say ono odi maami asem ama no no akria nso so ejina nipa ba kon no so edi petition call say no omo hwe maami na asem ye ni ni sa na friends a member of parliament for friends Otafo Vincent Asefo no na wo hwe be bia Godfred Dami jina on the side of the chief justice no and battle chief justice and any member of parliament here you bet me aside simple say there's a conflict of interest here now on hona martin ichiremu say no ma me nso e say ye ni asem no e wo bedwam no enye ono na bress na ebedi asem wo bedwam okanya be see say impo ye constitution na emra no aye de ato say so man pani ye bonity o man no a parliament e wo ho kwan say ye impeach president eno ne impeachment process na eno mpo no so no ye wo kwan a ye fa so a ye di impeach president ni yini firi wo so de be nti na maame no chenchi no person nasem ye de be efenese bedroom folks maybe be expanding more but then I cut 3 pages say executive producer edit twice my yeah take it up from here.
Unfortunately, and for reasons best known to the chief justice, she chose to copy her letter to several addresses, including specifically a former Chief Justice, Sophia Ekufu, serving on the Council of State. Even though the Council of State as a body was copied through its chairman and the Ghana Bar Association, who would coincidentally or on the prompt later speak in her defense. The content of her letter was given wide publicity in the media. I thought she had shot herself in the foot, both strategically and tactically, and I was vindicated when her request addressed to the president was acceded to, and in a way undercutting whatever capital she would have gained by keeping quiet and watching how the next steps would pan out. On 21 May 2025, on the 21st of May 2025, the Supreme Court heard and delivered its decision in 2 separate cases: Center for Citizenship, Constitutional and Electoral Systems versus the Attorney General. 2, her ladyship, Chief Justice Gertrude Araba Isaba Saki Tokuno, and 3, His Lordship Justice Gabriel Scott Kwaman, a justice of the Supreme Court and the chairman of the Presidential Investigative Committee established by the President, and Theodore Kofi Atakorte versus Attorney General, brought by citizens of Ghana challenging the removal processes commenced against the Chief Justice. The court dismissed each action or application. The 2 actions were supposed to have been brought by independent citizens of Ghana vindicating their constitutional rights under Article 2 and 130 of the 1992 Constitution. However, Ghana Web reported on the same day, 21 May 2025, after the proceedings at the Supreme Court that, quote, GH1 TV captured Francis Kofi Tokono, who is the immediate past Chief Executive Officer, CEO of the Narcotic Control Board, NACOB, leaving the court, which was shared on X on Wednesday. The media house captioned the video, quote, CJ Tokono's husband and legal team leaving Supreme Court following dismissal of an application for interlocutory injunction aimed at halting hearing of 3 petitions against the Chief Justice, unquote. Maybe the public would understand that Francis Kofi Tokono's presence at the court premises was luckless coincidence, to use the words of someone who shares the same evangelical pastor or spiritual mentor with the Chief Justice.
Hey.
On the same day, 21 May 2025, Godfred Yeboah-Dame filed in the Registry of the Supreme Court at 3 p.m. the writ in the case of Gertrude Tokono versus the Attorney General and 6 others, and an accompanying application for interim injunction against all the 5 members of the committee appointed to inquire into the complaints contained in the petitions against the Chief Justice. The timing of the commencement of Gertrude Tokono's action may also be a luckless coincidence in the public's perception.
Wow.
And maybe the public will rationally not make any connection or meaning between the president who appointed both the Chief Justice and the former Attorney General to this strategic and tactical move in the Chief Justice filing her action in court using the services of the immediate past Attorney General. The decision and conduct in the timing of the action in the court by the Chief Justice constitute non-verbal communication and sends out a message which the public as recipients are entitled to make meaning out of, which may or may not be helpful for the cause being pursued or advocated using lawfare. It may or may not be a coded call to all appointing president's appointees to rally around the respondent. It may or may not have prompted the references to some of the judges appointed by the President Boadu as NDC judges thereafter. The communicator is responsible for the meaning significant others make of these messages. Simple theory of communication studies. But let me hasten to say that when one looks at the public service and experience between the Chief Justice, who was enrolled as a lawyer with number 2110 on 2nd February 1987, and the former Attorney General enrolled on the same roll of lawyers with the number 3558 on 3rd October 2003, any strategic and tactical credit or misjudgment in the timing and conduct of the suit must lie primarily at the feet of the supposedly more experienced Chief Justice, who is still the head of the judiciary in Ghana. Discretion is the better part of valor. I believe it was the fact that Godfred Yeboah-Dame exercised his acclaimed theoretical right as a lawyer to represent whom he may after leaving the office that generated public comments, necessitating his having to grant the interview to City News Hansen Ajiman on 22nd May 2025, in which he asserted, inter alia, that the hearing by the committee appointed by the president to inquire into the complaints against his client, the Chief Justice, cannot be in secret. It cannot be a secret. Quote, it cannot be a secret. There ought to be light on the proceeding because she has already been damaged in the public domain. Unquote. He was also reported to have said, quote, on the contrary, the conduct of the government so far, together with what has been witnessed in the whole of proceedings, will rather require that it ought to be in the public. Unquote. The writ which the Chief Justice caused Godfred Dame to file on her behalf on 21st May 2025 seeks to vindicate his assertions in the Supreme Court and to invalidate the whole processes leading to the appointment of the committee and to disqualify all the members of the committee from proceeding with their constitutional duty to hear the complaints of the petitioners who initiated the petitions under Article 146 of the Constitution. Chief Justice Gertrude Tokono and her lawyer have an uphill task in view of the binding decision of the Supreme Court in Ghana Bar Association versus Attorney General, Ejechum versus Attorney General, and Derry versus Attorney General. The Supreme Court in Derry versus Attorney General, which reconciled the previous two cases, decided that the annulment of the petition is not a remedy available to a respondent to petition, and concluded as follows, quote, "From the moment the president accepts the petition, the process of impeachment has commenced, and the process cannot be truncated except in terms as clearly expressed in Article 146.
I see.
And there are only two situations in which this can occur. Firstly, where the Chief Justice decides that there is no prima facie case under Clause 3. And secondly, after the committee set up to investigate the complaint has submitted its report. Apart from these two modes of terminating proceedings commenced under Article 146, which are expressly provided for, it is impossible to import any other mode into the article to truncate the process," unquote. The court emphatically concluded that, and I quote, "Finally, the attempt to abort the proceedings also brings it in conflict with the provisions of Article 126 Clause 4, 128 Clause 4, 136 Clause 3, and 139 Clause 4 of the Constitution, which requires that only persons of higher moral character and proven integrity shall be appointed to the various branches of the Superior Court bench." Read side by side with Article 146 Clause 1, which requires inter alia that when a judge is alleged to have fallen short of qualities for which he was appointed, he should be investigated.
Yeah.
It is also a matter of public policy that allegations of misconduct or misbehavior against a public official, including a judge, should not be swept under the carpet. Indeed, the very integrity of the judiciary is at stake if such allegations are unexamined and found to be false, unquote. Despite the decision of the Supreme Court in the Derry case, many unscrupulous persons have for political and selfish reasons made it their forte to leak unauthenticated contents of the petitions allegedly submitted to the president for the removal of the Chief Justice in the name of freedom of speech, contrary to prohibitions by the Constitution. Indeed, the responses of the Chief Justice to the petitions also found their way into the media.
Yeah.
The law provides a remedy to the committee as well as the party affected by an unconstitutional disclosure for bringing such unscrupulous citizens and media to book without aborting the removal processes initiated by the petitioners.
Yeah.
See Derry versus the Attorney General.
Yeah.
The Chief Justice and the immediate past Attorney General have filed a motion at the Supreme Court seeking an interlocutory injunction to halt the proceedings of the committee investigating the petitions for her removal. The statement of the plaintiff's case was not filed on the 21st of May 2025. It is difficult to conjecture how it supports the writ and the interim application. But every vigilant citizen knows that the Supreme Court rendered two decisions on 21st May 2025, which ruled against injuncting the committee. Maybe the writ and particularly the statement of the plaintiff's case, when filed and made public, will be weighty enough to support the application for interlocutory injunction filed by the sitting Chief Justice as plaintiff to convince the court to overrule itself.
Wow.
Grant the application for interim injunction and ultimately depart from its previous decision to abort the pending petitions. We are in uncharted waters, and all eyes must be on the Supreme Court. Every patriotic citizen has an obligation to defend the 1992 Constitution without considerations of any other form of loyalty to substructures existing and enabled by the Constitution. The patriotic citizen's utmost fidelity is to the Republic of Ghana as established by the Constitution. The judiciary is the least dangerous branch, and the citizens hope for freedom and justice. Consequently, We must channel our efforts to defend Article 146 of the Constitution and produce cogent evidence when we allege it is being subverted by any person or group of persons. In the absence of any concrete evidence of impropriety on the part of the petitioners, the public has a vested interest in knowing the outcome of the removal processes begun by the petition submitted to the President. Caesar's wife must be above suspicion. This is the only rational way to protect and defend the judiciary and administration of justice under a regime of laws and not of men demanded by the 1992 Constitution. Martin A.B.K. Amidu, 25th May 2025.
Great one, folks. Great one piece. Of course, we, Martin Alamisi Ben Kaiser Amidu, the article, a 6-page epistle or the abattoir for this very embattled Chief Justice. Now, I tell you what, folks, this issue seems as though it isn't going to go, off anytime soon. And what we are hearing in Kranum, and then not just a warsha. Na akwen who be brave just gone past na yaw Abu Boston folks yaw thank you very much sir ode enyomegu has my main share message 1 2 binafi yen sorry swear yen simpi okay we all say good evening, I am Ibn from Kwabenya. CJ Tokono Panie, talking of her rights being abused. As they say, time really changes power. So soon she has forgotten being among judges that said our birth certificates can be proven. One citizen, this should be a lesson to all public servants that the oath they do sworn is to serve the people and not the appointing authority. All right, great one there. Where's I say the truthful investigative journalist in Ghana, Kwaku, God is with you. Breu, Germany, no different. Ebae. Was also good evening, please. I am Isaac from Kumasi. Ghana, Port. Honestly, Diana say, Ghana. Okay, I say hi there. Top of the evening to you, please. Honestly, I don't know what the CJ wants. She should let it go and move on with her life. The law is the law. What is done to Amma can be done to Kwame. We all must learn from this. More Amore Vivian. Okay, Amore Vivian. They are all kind of so say the Chief Justice in the panel or befa or penso or bekoso I am but if I were the Chief Justice, I think say good evening, host. I think the NPP must know that Ghana does not belong to them. They should stop dreaming. Was it not the same Wontumi that said on his TV, said that he has power to change positions on the ballot paper? Wontumi on his TV station demonstrating gold. Wontumi on his TV station said JDM was having an affair with his housemaid from Ghana Army Barracks. Okay, also they are the buyer. My main company has also say it serves her right. Next time, when you find yourself in such position, you would be neutral. Martin Alamisi Ben Kaiser Amidu, right, has filed, if you like, has written an explosive article, 6-page epistle, landed, severe one, right, on this embattled Chief Justice and her attorney, and that is also the former Attorney General Godfred Yeboah Dame. The 6-page epistles of Martin Amidu is what you need to hear tonight. And the embattled Chief Justice would have to read this article. I'm going to display all of it tonight. We'll go into this article by Martin Alamisi Ben Kaiser Amidu. We'll go into the article, 6-page. Very severe, terrible. Everybody has gotten a share of this, and tonight we are going to go into this explore the details of this article. What is it that Martin Amidu is saying? And all of this brouhaha, dragging the Chief Justice left today, we are dragging her right, and all of that. Some are saying, the embattled Chief Justice is again, seeking to, as it were, address a situation that, hey, some are saying that the committee should sit in camera. Some are saying the committee should rather also sit in public and all of that. Folks, can you fathom? I mean, what is going on? Whether the Chief Justice, the embattled Chief Justice proceedings should be held in camera or in public or otherwise. What does the 1992 Constitution says? What is the provision? What is the Constitution saying? The Constitution is the mother guide to every institutions in this country. So why at one point the embattled Chief Justice is yearning for her proceedings to be held in camera? On one hand, petitioners are also yearning for, right, the proceedings should be held. You know, the Chief Justice is prefer, the embattled Chief Justice rather prefer that the committee should sit in public. The petitioners otherwise also say no, we want this committee to sit in camera. But above the two prepositions, what does the Constitution say? Why is it that today the Chief Justice, the embattled Chief Justice, prefer that the committee should sit in public? Why? Well, this is where, right, the Honorable Martin Alamisi Ben Kaiser Amidu drops in the bombshell. Tonight, you have to know all about what Martin Amidu is saying. It is severe. 6-page article here, and I'm going to read it to you. So tonight, I call upon the legal luminaries. Yes, Martin Amidu is no other. I mean, he's not a child's play. He's not a kid. Oh, he's a big man. Martin Alamisi Amidu is a big man. He's a man today. If Ghana was to be a country of, good, whatever, I don't know to put it, but he would be a man who can be used as a reference point in many of our constitutional standings, especially where there is misunderstanding, there is a standoff, there's all about constitutional disputes and all of that. These are the persons we fall on, because Martin is a constitutional lawyer. He's done so many things for this country way back in the inception of the 1992 Constitution. So why have we left such persons all there? Martin is on retirement. He's there doing his own thing. Martin is there doing his own thing. So why haven't we fallen the likes of Martin Amidu, to serve as a guide, and most of this, call it the dispositions of things, so they will set the record straight for us? Why not? Well, tonight, the bombshell of Martin Amidu you need to hear. Still on the bill, folks, you are going to hear what? Then battle who? Bernard Entribue Siakon, also known as who? Wontumi. Has it become that in fact, Wontumi, he can't? The meaning of Wontumi means what? You can't. But is it what we are seeing, hearing? That in fact, he can't? No, I'm quite sure that Wontumi can. As of yesterday, same time, Wontumi was in the grips of EOCO. And still as we speak, he's in the custody of the security services. What are the charges, or what charges have they pressed on Wontumi as of now? Tonight, is it the build-up is severe one, and you have to simply just brace all that we're about to say tonight here. But until all of these discussions comes off, of course, Ghana Speaks takes off, and Ghana Speaks, of course, takes off with who? They take off with the biogas expert engineers. You can contact them for what? For the construction of the state-of-the-art kitchen, build and borehole, anything in terms of what? Even acquisition of land, and all of anything that you are looking for. Kojo Awono will join me shortly. So Kojo, if you are ready, join me shortly, quickly, so that we do justice to all of that. Now, folks, I have a message for the NPP. And this message is coming from a renowned actor. But before that, folks, let me switch you to Ghana Speaks. Let's get started. Asama da pono so anadwene nkomo ne mu odne. former Chief Justice and a suspended Chief Justice as somewhere down an ordinary, and then one sign call Nasem no so, one more no, and somewhere my men or the 2 granny nano, and answer or church or the coma committee no, Nina ne mubie noa, etimi e coma mammy. No, and no, and na ye pape a ye Martin Alamisi Ben Kaiser Amidu, Caneno no ye den. Obey Attorney General Kessie Power Memua. Then Osan to be a special prosecutor. Kojo Awono, please join me quickly. Osan be a special prosecutor. Nyebeteo. Now, why you say at the end of the day, no, as I said, or didn't say me betuja because as a confusion be brave, and then the legal luminary no said the year church and same no be brave na enkoye. Martin Alamisi Ben Kaiser Amidu wabe set a record in straight. In his 6-page epistles, tonight I call on all the legal luminaries amuo memwa mesremo monfamaso a lawyer fwe kuku da muo Ghana for waso eben CTV hase netie ensemwa Martin Alamisi Ben Kaiser Amidu ode abetudwa be 6-page be ye be kan ni na amamu ehu ne a chirichiri mu kama ede amamo. Still on the bail, Wontumi Sabridia, so betimi so Wontumi no, asam na no no Wontumi kura. Debi. Matchless and around this same time, not all EOCO for nsem. And Chakran yet say no, Debi Wontumi. Emma Wontumi say kase yedene kura aspiti. Aspiti ni yedene kwashe okres. Which of the aspiti ben yedene kwashe? Yenim ayen sempi anadwi ye ba be bieni na som wehu ema enioma added na kwem nemum enkrabi free a renowned iconic global actor osimfa se mimre NPP for yeah papai nagra wodi no odi wo Los Angeles City of Angels in the United States ose opamocho ni din no mabono dodo ono crisis or retirement obi aso ni so retirement so why now here in Africa mudi ni din di agrosa aden papai your friend Rambo osimunya ni din bo wa bre okọ owahugiem fitibe month senior obete Rambo star aden osi Rambo no we na dwuma why say mudi mo dragging ni din no eba mo arrest the way do be a Rambo and e be chiwe Rambo star and a Rambo osi Rambo na ye nka so aden